Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:07. It's O'Connor and Company. And it's Wednesday in your nation's capital. Coming up in 30 minutes, we're going to dance. No, we're not. We're going to talk to Cal Thomas. He'll probably dance. It's 7:05. Stuart Whitson is running for Congress in Northern Virginia, and that special election is coming up. In fact, early voting is happening now. 7:35, we'll talk to the former Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund. And then at 8:05, Nick Minock of Channel 7. Latest in the schools scandals, plus the Virginia governor's race. Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Julie.
Good morning.
We've got some updates here on D.C. crime. We're over a week into the president's exertion of federal influence and cooperation with the law enforcement in this town, utilizing and coordinating federal law enforcement agencies with the local police department. I refuse to call it a takeover because constitutionally the executive branch already has certain executive powers over the District of Columbia. It's not a takeover. It's an assertion of already existing responsibilities. But that doesn't mean that people in this town are going to complain about it, mischaracterize it, lie about it, especially people in the media, and call it some sort of fascist police state troops frog marching down the street. Right. Peter Baker calls himself a journalist for the New York Times. He works in Washington. I believe he's a White House correspondent, is he not? Mm-hmm. And he began covering this story 9 days ago, when it started, by claiming that there is no crisis of violent crime in Washington, D.C. He was one of those journalists who said, well, I've never been attacked.
Right. I mean,
I've never been carjacked.
When my driver comes around and opens my door, I've never seen him attacked.
That's right. The security in my building tell me that there's not a problem there. So he put out a post on Monday on social media that showed a really handy-dandy map of where the federal law enforcement agencies are deployed. And he claims that, according to the Washington Post, Trump's forces are patrolling in Washington, but they're not where the crime is. Now, first of all, I thought he said there wasn't any crime problem in D.C.
Right. Can't keep up.
So the first problem is that there is no crime crisis. Secondly, there is a crime crisis, but Trump isn't really doing anything about it. By the way, yesterday we sort of blew apart that myth twofold. Number one, it's not true. In fact, federal law enforcement has helped with tons of arrests in areas outside of the main capital corridor and in Northwest D.C., number one. But number two, this is actually part of the strategy, is that you do put a major show of law enforcement force in those highly trafficked areas. Where did Rudy Giuliani first take care of the crime problem in New York when he became mayor? Times Square. Mm-hmm. Times Square, because that's where the tourists were. That's where the cameras were. That's where the highest traffic was. So you send a message to everybody that we're here and we're not going to take this.
Right.
Secondly, though, the White House comms team, Abigail Jackson, has been great at this. She works in the White House. And she pointed out that 48% of the non-immigration related arrests since the time Trump asserted his executive influence have taken place in Ward 7 and Ward 8. So half of the arrests that have nothing to do with immigration took place in those most troubled neighborhoods, completely blowing apart the lie that Peter Baker, the New York Times, promulgated.
It's just so sad. You think about the New York Times, the paper of record, and this reporter, and just the misinformation. They are the source of misinformation about an issue as important as citizen safety in D.C. It's just it's really. But
of course, the Wall Street Journal ran with this story.
Yes,
Washington
they did.
Post, Politico, New York Times. They all ran with the story, and none of them actually checked back with the White House and said, "Can you verify where the arrests were taking place? And can you we've got these numbers. Can we get a comment from you? Can we get a response?" Which I thought was sort of a journalistic practice. Wasn't
they
it?
are not. They are not journalists. They are an adjunct of the Democrat Party. They will. They start at the message that they want to send, and then they just alter the evidence. They just fill in however they can.
Well, this is my favorite one. That's one of the fake news, but this is the best fake news story. So Channel 9, WUSA, a reporter here locally, put out a report that said that since Trump took over law enforcement in D.C. with his jackbooted National Guard's troops, that the attendance and patronage of D.C. restaurants last week dropped drastically compared to a year ago the same week.
Right.
So Channel 9 puts that out. Peter Baker, always reliable, New York Times, he puts it out there as well. He amplifies it. He puts it out. Eleanor Holmes Norton. I believe Eleanor Holmes Norton. Have you actually seen or heard from Eleanor Holmes Norton lately? She sounds just like Joe Biden did at the debate at CNN.
Oh,
I think
people.
she is also one of those sort of, let's just say, intellectually incapacitated elderly citizens who the Democrats just keep running.
I'll just say this.
Running.
I've been in Washington, and it started with internships. I agree. I was young, but I've been in this town for almost 30 years, and she seemed old then. Okay?
Yes, your non-voting delegate for District of Columbia, she promulgated this story as well about how the restaurants are suffering. No one's going to the restaurants.
Sure.
And let's think about this for a second. And just understand, the narrative is, compared to last year, restaurant attendance has plummeted because Trump has increased law enforcement. Now, just think for yourself. I go out to eat. You go out to eat. If you knew that there was increased police presence in the middle of summer in Washington, D.C., would that encourage you to go out and eat more or discourage you to go out and eat more?
It would be like me on Bourbon Street. I'd be out with my travel beverage, walking around.
Lifting your shirt for the plastic beads. Absolutely. Exactly. So you see these numbers and you think, well, that's interesting, but that doesn't make any logical sense. You would think that increased law enforcement would actually increase people going out, venturing out, and eating dinner.
The risk to my life. Look, I might not get shot.
Right.
Oh, maybe I'll go outside today.
Nah,
yes, I see where you're going with this, Larry. Yeah.
Another night for Uber Eats. Yeah. So on the face of it, the story sounds like a fraud. It sounds fake.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's a lie. Well, it is a lie. And in a moment, and by the way, an easily discoverable lie.
Yeah, yeah.
It literally would have taken just one question.
They're so exhausted.
To say, hey, why is restaurant attendance down this week compared to a week ago last year or a year ago?
I know we have to go to break, but really quickly, Larry, we do this all the time, right?
Right.
They tell a story. We're like, that doesn't pass the sniff test.
That doesn't sound right. Let's check it out.
Let's dig it out. You think at some point they would get embarrassed?
All right. We'll tell you why restaurant patronage was in fact down last week compared to a year ago. It's not that big a secret, but we'll tell you in a moment. And then we'll spend a whole lot of time showing you all of the retractions and apologies that all these people have made. Oh, no, that won't take any time at all because they didn't do it. It's 6:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
All right, so WUSA Channel 9 here in your nation's capital reports on this drastic drop of people going to the restaurants year over year for last week. And they say, well, it's because of Trump's takeover of law enforcement. Because increasing law enforcement and saying there's a zero tolerance on crime is always going to depress people going to the restaurants. It's always going to affect, whether they're going out. New York Channel 9 does it. Then New York Times Peter Baker amplifies it. Eleanor Holmes Norton trumpets it. It's all over the place. And once again, enter Abigail Jackson for the Trump administration. She works in the comms department there at the White House. And she says, guys, again, if you had given us a call or maybe done a little bit of research, you're so right, Julie. How many times when we're putting our show together do we see a story and we look at it and we're like, hold on, that doesn't quite look right. And these are conservative stories. These are stories that, would be great for us to, jump out with and like really get everybody jazzed up about something Trump did or something Biden did, but we say, hold on, let's just check that out for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, even when I say I'd like to talk about something this morning on the show, Heather's got like 50 questions for me, right?
Right.
Like
we challenge each other. We say, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, she wants it to be accurate, and so you gotta face Heather
because we're not the New York Times or WUSA or Eleanor Holmes Norton. All right, so here's why. It is true that last week attendance at D.C. restaurants was down compared to the same week a year ago. It is not true that it had anything to do with the Trump administration's crackdown, takeover of law enforcement. No. Last year...
Ready for it?
Was restaurant week in D.C. This year, restaurant week is a week later.
Restaurant week, that's the week where you get food for less. You get more food for less because restaurants want to sort of promote themselves. So they put together these nice little packages.
You get $50, a prefix 3-course meal.
3 options, yeah.
I love restaurant week.
So do I.
Restaurant week's fantastic.
Who doesn't love restaurant week? You know what, Larry? I actually go out during restaurant week.
So do I.
And you know I'm a homebody.
It's like, why did everybody go out to the So the story is
if they could bring restaurant week to my couch, I would be much happier. But they can't. I actually have to go out, and I do.
During COVID, they did that, actually. They did deliver. I remember I took advantage of it.
The good old days.
So instead, so everyone sees that last year everybody went to the restaurant during last week, I should say. And this year they didn't. So they immediately said, well, it's got to be Trump's fault. They literally... That's the only explanation. Instead of saying, well, actually...
I mean, how easy is journalism today? You don't even have to look. You're like, you know what? There's rain today, and it's Trump's fault. Like, why even have a weatherman, right?
Quite a storm. Actually, they would. They would say climate change. That's right.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I wonder if Jamie Whitten knows. I wonder if Jamie Whitten knows that she could just go, Trump's fault.
Right.
There's your trap.
Real bad backup on the Beltway over by Connecticut Avenue.
Trump's fault.
So, yeah. Now, by the way, this week is restaurant week, so I'm looking forward to the stories next week about how the restaurants are overcrowded, and that's Trump's fault.
What's funny, though, Larry, is there are some lunatic leftists, like Becky Hammer, okay, who are, this week, it's restaurant week, loves restaurant week. Every year she does restaurant week, and this year she's like, you know what? We can't go out because we can't take advantage. We used to love
restaurant week.
We have to keep up this mirage that it's Trump's fault.
Well, I'll tell you, it's only been 8 days, right? I think since the law enforcement has officially been on the ground. We've already told you some of the crime stats. The carjacking's down like 87% or something. I think there was only one carjacking in the week where this was activated. We're going to have former Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sun joining us at 7:35 to sort of get an update on what he knows and what he's hearing from his sources. He used to be NPD as well. But I will tell you this, already liberal columnists are starting to backtrack on this. It took 8 days, but now suddenly they're like, on second thought, maybe Trump has a point. Here's the headline from The Atlantic. Trump is right that D.C. has a serious crime problem. Now, of course, all through it, there's equivocations, and there's but he's not really getting to the root cause, and this isn't going to solve the problem. And here's the New York Times opinion column from Maureen Dowd. Many D.C. residents are secretly glad to see more uniforms. No matter what statistics say, they don't feel safe. But, of course, we know the statistics have been, fraudulent anyway. So the caveat there about the statistics doesn't matter. But the key is D.C. residents are secretly glad to see more uniforms. And it has to be a secret because, number one, you can't give Trump credit for anything. And number two, if you say that the police are actually the solution to the crime problem, well, you're going to have to take that sign down from your front yard that you've had proudly displayed.
That's right.
It is 6:23.
Coming up, it's my favorite part of Wednesday. It's Cal time. Keep it here at 6:30.
WMAL FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. WMAL. News now. Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It is 6:37. Thanks for tuning in to O'Connor and Company on this busy Wednesday morning. Coming up at 7:05, Stuart Whitson running for Congress in the Virginia 11th special election. 7:35, former Capitol Police Chief Stephen Son give us his overview of the crime situation now after the exertion of federal influence from law enforcement agencies. And at 8:05, Nick Minnock, Channel 7 on the Virginia governor's race and the showdown between Northern Virginia school systems and the Department of Education. Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. And Julie,
Yes.
It's Cal Thomas.
My favorite time.
It is. Really, we look forward to this moment like you wouldn't believe. Cal, thanks for joining us. Cal?
Yes, hello.
We
Well,
were
had
too
a little problem there with Russian hacking. Good morning,
Yes.
Wonder Woman and Superman of morning radio.
Hey, what did you make of Trump's, you talk about shuttle diplomacy. Well, everyone sort of came to Trump on the extreme west coast of our nation in Alaska, where, by the way, you can see Russia from your house. There was
Right.
Vladimir Putin on Friday. And then on Monday in Washington, D.C., that extraordinary scene of European leaders coming to the White House to try to hammer out a peace deal. What's your assessment?
Well, two things. First of all, I thought the tableau of seeing all of those European leaders was something I hadn't seen in Washington since the funeral for John F. Kennedy in 1963. It projected unity, it projected strength, and it projected friendship, and I think that was all good. On the other hand, you have Vladimir Putin, who, if he was applying for a bank loan, given his terrible credit rating and breaking promises and violating treaties, would never be given $1. The man is a killer, a liar, a KGB agent. He kills children and kidnaps them. He attacks civilian buildings. He has just today, I guess, said that Zelensky is Trump's puppet. He has said he wants not only all of Ukraine, but the former Soviet satellite nations as well. I think we should take him at his word. It's going to be very difficult to cut any kind of a deal that preserves the security of Ukraine and keeps Putin from gobbling up some of these other countries.
Yeah, but what's the alternative at this point? I mean, is it better that they're at least talking and moving toward some sort of agreement?
Well, that's the issue at Munich in 1938, of course. Margaret Thatcher said something so profound. We in the West make a mistake when we transpose our morality on those who don't share it. The idea at Munich was, we'll just give Hitler the Sudetenland, a lot of German-speaking people there, just like there are a lot of Russian-speaking people in Ukraine, and then he won't want any more. Evil people don't behave like that. The alternative is what Trump initially said he was going to do. Sanctions on Russia, secondary sanctions on countries that buy Russian oil, and selling arms to NATO, which they can then carry to Ukraine to defend themselves. That's it's peace through strength. It's the old Ronald Reagan line. That's the way you do it. This guy is not going to settle for anything other than his goals that he set for himself and broadcast them openly.
Yeah. So, first of all, I think Trump has demonstrated peace through strength, given the fact that this incursion happened under Biden, not during the time that Trump was president. First of all, he's hardly being Chamberlain here.
No. But the attitude is, it's not just him. It's this attitude that if we just give bad guys something they want, then we'll be able to have a certain peace. But there is no peace in these kinds of situations when you're dealing with evil people. It's the same in Gaza. It's the same all over the world. Now, I grant Trump tremendous credit for these wars that he's been settling, but this is the big one. And
I get it.
Yeah.
I guess the only difference is with Hamas is a terrorist organization, and they're not sitting on the second largest nuclear arsenal on the planet.
Well, that's true, but I do think that Russia's economy is teetering, and I don't think Putin is going to take the West seriously until we start with these sanctions. I really don't. He can't be trusted. There's nothing in his background that shows he has been willing to live up to any agreement, any treaty. And then you're going to have, and Trump is right. It started with Biden saying, well, and you used the word, it's just a little incursion. Well,
yeah, a little incursion.
Little incursions become big invasions very quickly if they're not stopped. Now, what kind of signal did that send to Putin? It said, hey, they're not going to stop me. I'll just keep going.
Well, Cal, I know we have other issues, but I have just one follow-up question. What is the next step here? What do you think? I mean, do you think we will just see Putin, he is a liar. Do you think we will just see more attacks on Ukraine? The bombings, the drone attacks starting up again? What will happen next? What's your prediction?
Well, Julie, they haven't ended. They're still going on, and that's the thing. Before the 24-second rule in basketball, there was a thing called freezing the ball. If you were ahead by a couple of points, you kept holding on to the ball. Well, he's ahead by more than a couple of points, and he just is rope-a-dope, to go back to Muhammad Ali's wonderful line. They're just playing us. They want to set up this meeting. Trump wants to set up a bilateral meeting between Putin and Zelensky. Okay, well, what are they going to talk about? Putin's going to say, I want more territory. Zelensky's going to say, well, you're not going to have it. We're a sovereign nation. And Putin's going to say, well, we don't believe that Ukraine is a sovereign nation. It's been part of Russia before we want it back. Well, he could say the same thing about Alaska, couldn't he? So I just think this is rope-a-dope, and he is not going to respond to anything. He's a dictator until we put the screws to him economically.
Alluding to Muhammad Ali's rope-a-dope and I don't know if the kids caught it, but Dean Smith's four corners offense in the heyday of 70s college basketball, playing keep away.
We try to do every analogy here on the show.
Thank you, Calvin. Good to talk with you as
guys.
always.
Thanks,
It's
Cal.
6:43.
Mark Levin, weekdays 6 till 9 on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
All right, I want to remind you that Nick Minnock, investigative journalist for WJLA Channel 7, will be joining us at 8:05. He's on top of a couple of stories here in town, and he's also tracking the Virginia governor's race. We led this morning at 5 o'clock with the latest polls that show that race tightening big time. In fact, it's tightening better for Winsome Sears right now, down by 7 points, than it looked for Youngkin 4 years ago against Terry McAuliffe, who was leading by 8 points at this time of the race. So we are keeping an eye on that, and it's definitely, I think the news cycle is definitely not in Abigail Spanberger's favor right now, unless she comes up a way to sort of, I don't know, change her position on things like gender policies.
No, look where her money comes from. Her money comes from out of state. It doesn't come from Virginia. It comes from the LGBT community. It comes from radicals in California and Texas and New York. It is,
and DC.
She is not going to work for Virginians.
So the only strategy she's got is what we're seeing, which is avoid, delay, back out of the debate, agree to a debate, but have it be based down at, where is it, in Richmond or Roanoke or something, and hope that nobody pays attention and just sort of play out the clock, Meantime, the news cycle is not doing her any favors. And the latest update out of Northern Virginia, where Abigail Spanberger says that she's got a plan to strengthen Virginia schools. Well, she might need to modify that plan, because 5 Northern Virginia school systems are now faced with a cutoff of Department of Education funding because of their stubborn insistence on ruining women's sports in Virginia, letting boys play against girls, and letting boys into a girls' locker room or
and girls into
bathroom.
boys' locker rooms.
And girls into boys' locker rooms.
Yep.
Yeah. Nick Minnock reporting now that the Department of Education has announced brand new measures that places those districts on what they call a high-risk status, and they're in reimbursement payment status, which means if they want money from the Department of Education, instead of just getting a block grant or whatever is funneled through, they actually have to proactively go to the DOE and say, please, will you give us this check? And they have to spend the money first and then hope for a reimbursement.
Yeah. Let me explain the pathology here, okay? Let me give you a
You understand these women.
Let me give you a clue as to why none of this matters to these people in Northern Virginia. This is what's going to happen. They're gonna start the Northern Virginia, these 5 districts, the superintendents, the city councils, and the board of supervisors, and all of these government officials, the mayors of these towns. They're going to start saying the cruelty of these cuts right? It's going to affect special needs. Kids are going to starve. They're going to start all those talking points, right? All those talking points about how kids are going to suffer, right? And it'll never be at their hand, right? It's going to be Trump, right? Trump is cutting the funding off, okay? Then all of these woke leftists that live in the Northern Virginia region. I mean, you know, a lot of people talk about this, that Virginia is a great state, except for Northern Virginia, right? Don't forget, Virginia's huge, right? And there's this concentration of lunatics that live in Northern Virginia, okay? And so all of these Northern Virginia people, like Becky Hammer, I'm going to bring her up all morning, right? Becky Hammer, this sort of model leftist that lives in Alexandria, right? They're all going to go, gosh, this is horrible. Look at our school districts that are now the victim of the Trump administration. And they're not only going to be okay with raising taxes, because that's what these towns and cities are going to do. They're going to raise our taxes to sort of bridge that divide, to make up for the millions of dollars that have been lost from the federal government. Right. And then a lot of it. So taxes will go up, and it's all to save these schools. Right. And these people I won't be happy. And a lot of people won't be happy that are, you know, struggling in this, you know, not only in this economy, but in Northern Virginia in general, because things are so expensive up here. But this is what's going to happen. There's going to be fun. I guarantee you there will be fundraisers for the schools. Right.
Right. Well,
so they'll use this actually to their advantage.
Good. Let them. I mean, it's exactly what NPR did, by the way. NPR and PBS just
How'd
got
that work out?
Well, they just got corporate grants for $37 million to keep the lights on. It's like, okay, so you didn't need our money. Great, go to your corporations, do the same thing. But at some point, Abigail Spanberger and the politicians who support these radical policies are going to have to answer for it, and they're going to have to say something. We'll get more from Nick Minock again. He's going to be joining us at 8:05 to talk about this story and how the race is shaping up, and hopefully an update on those boys who are now being punished by Loudoun County school system for daring to object to having a girl in their locker room. That's all coming up. Right now, it is 6:52.